So, hello everyone. Um, Good evening. There's our third meeting for GAMPRG2. So today, I will just be discussing introduction to C++ sa Unreal, right? So before we start, is there any questions or may concern ba kayo with anything? Like, I don't know, your Visual Studios? None? Okay, sige. Uh, Let me just share my screen. So in case kayo may encounter a problem. So in Gaplog kasi you'll be starting with Visual Studios, right? So you have to make sure that your Visual Studio installer, one is to make sure that your Visual Studio is updated. At least, well, mine is kinda not updated pero okay lang yan. And make sure yung pag-modify nyo, kailangan nyo i-add ang mga C++. So, ako, I usually add si .NET and si Universal. This one, not, I don't think kailangan naman to. Pero, yung important dito is ito, game development with C++. You have to make sure this is uh, added to your components. Kasi, kung wala to, mag-error yung pag-start pa lang ng project nyo. Sabihin na, something something .cs, whatever. So, usually, that's the case of itong mga components. Alright? So, important mga yan. Ano ko, yun lang naman when it comes to Visual Studio. After that, you should not be having any problems naman with it. Another one, siguro, but this will be in your later sa mga finals. But it has something to do with AI. But I think you can always ask about it when you get there again. But it is something with this, not target. It is something with this build.cs. So before without the C++, you can easily add AI or whatever. In here kasi you need to include here kapag kailangan mo ng AI or certain modules. So what if you need AI, you'd have to put AI module. Pero in midterms naman, you don't need this. You won't need it naman. Pero I think just for you to know, kapag may error kayo somewhere sa AI, it's because of this. Okay? So that's just one thing. But yeah, that's just it lang naman. Let's go back to Unreal C++. So before, I've taught you guys a bit on itong CU property and CU function. I've also taught you guys how to use yung mga static mesh component or U-Spring ARM component on where to find it. So again, if you need to know what the include is, you can simply search it here for like Spring ARM component .h, and it will tell you naman it's in game framework. If hindi yan, if you want another one like our sphere component, it will show that it is in, ayan, medyo niload niya muna. It's in components naman. Okay, so that's how you add it or include here. You can always search it again. You can always search it in Google as an sphere component and it should pop up there. Right? So today, I'll teach you something about the player controller. if you remember, wait lang, let me just double check. GAMPRG, ang bago pa lang sa akin dito ata si Tejada ba? I think Tejada was not here. So anyway, sa mga bago pa lang sa Unreal Engine 5. So here, I'll put here si controllers. Gawa tayo ng player controller. Uh, so before, it's as easy as just adding like ay, dito sa input. If you go here to the project settings, this is like Unreal Engine 4 sa mga di pa nag-Unreal Engine 5. Before, it's as easy as adding the bindings here, yung mga action mapping, whatever. Pero again, nag-change na sila. Hindi na si input. Ang bago, may bago na silang input, which is si uh, input action. So you'll need the input mapping context, like move context. Not only that, you also need the input action. Move input action. So it'll look like this. And if you want a 2D, like forward, backward, left, and right, ay set nyo lang yung value type to 2D. Kapag forward lang, or forward, backward, or left and right lang, it's na isang axis, you have to make it float. In this case, I'll do 2D. And then, in a move context, dito, you'll have to use yung mga nagawa mong input action. So, my move input action. If I go forward, there's nothing. It will just go forward. Positive. If you go backward, it would be negate. Meaning in reverse of yung dapat value. So, papunta palikod naman. If you're going to go right, you would have to swizzle. So, you swizzle, instead of forward and backward, we have to change it. We have to change its direction to the y-axis, to the other axis, which will be yung right and left. I think, hindi ko mali ako eh. Pero, anyway, try natin to. So, that is going to the right. And then, oops, sorry. Going to the left. We need to swizzle and then negate. So, our move input action here. This is just for play, for yung controller lang. Kasi, yung mga nag-GAMPRG 1, I think you guys know how to use this naman. Pero yung mga di pa na pag-GAMPRG 1 last term, so this thing is new. I would get my pawn. Oops, no. Get controlled pawn. And then move. Add, move, input. So in here, my X and Y will go like that. So, testing natin. Ay, kulang pala. So, isa pa dito is kailangan nyo pa i-add itong si mapping context. Right now, it has the input action pero hindi niya alam ano yung mga i-press. We did that in the mapping context. So, we need to map mapping context. Ano pa to? Enhanced input. Diyan. Enhanced input. This one. So I think enhanced input and then add mapping context. Ayan. And then dito, isa-set natin yung move context. So to test this out, let me just create a game mode. Wala pa tayo sa C++ ah. Game mode. Run game mode. So this is my run game mode, and then our default pawn will just be yung BP first person, and then controller will be the run character controller. Ayan. So now I'm pressing W, S, D, and A. So gumagana siya. Nope. Wait lang. Diyan. Mali. Kasi I forgot si yung ito si BP first person. It already has controls nga pala. So my bad. I'll just create my own. So character, run character. Let me just give this a mesh. Give it some animation. And that is enough. Okay, test natin. This is W, S, A, and D. Yan. Okay? So if I remove like si D and A, mangyari hindi siya gagana. So if I remove this, if I play it, this is W, this is S, this is me pressing A or D. Wala. So, ayan. This is a new thing for Unreal 5. Right? Now, how do we translate that in C++? So, gawa tayo ng... You guys can try to follow me. Siguro, i-change ko lang tong quality. So, gawa ko ng C++ for player controller. I will call this run character, run player controller. And let me just check muna. Ina-add pa rin niya. Sige, while that's adding, you will notice that there's barely anything in the run player controller. Not even begin play. Right? So, talagang mana-mana to. Public si void begin play override. Kasi may begin play na override. That is like a standard. May virtual na begin play. At saka virtual void set up input component override. Where am I getting these? So the only way that I know na may mga ganito is through experience. You can always check rin yung, yung base class nito. Mahanap mo rin yun eh. Meron dito, I think begin play here is here. Ayan. Nasa protected pala si begin play. Yes, this is being recorded. So, ito si begin play. Next is si setup input component. Ayan. Si setup input component, nasa protected din pala. It's virtual. So, balik tayo. Protected. Okay. Yeah. Ito na muna. So, sa begin play, no. Sige. Ang iba rin kailangan natin is itong dalawa na to. Itong si mapping, si move context, at saka si move input action. We need that para maset natin sa code. So, lagay rin natin ng class u input action. This is move input action. Tsaka si class u mapping context. Tama ba yun? Input mapping context pala. Input mapping context. Move input mapping context. So for this, my u property will just be sige, edit anywhere. Parehas. Ito, di ko man kailangan. So sa begin play, if you remember, we had to get the enhanced input local player subsystem and then add mapping context. So asan si enhanced input local player subsystem? You would have to include that. Search natin yun. Enhanced input local. Oops. Enhanced input local player subsystem. Wala. Enhanced input. Enhanced input. Ayan, may mga enhanced input. So what we need here is the subsystem and component. So include enhanced input component. Tsaka si include enhanced input subsystems. So what does this look like? There's actually if you want to try to base it on something, it's here in yung template. Makikita niyo na mahaba yung code niya. So, kukunin niya si player controller and then gagamitin niya itong u local player get subsystem, and there's really no way to shortcut this. So we can get this. See u enhanced local player subsystem. If u enhanced local input local player subsystem is equal to u local player local local player get system enhanced input local player subsystem. Tapos ang ginamit niya? Get local player. Get local player. So, may if to para parang check natin kung makakuha ba niya itong subsystem na to sa enhance local player subsystem sa get local player. Kung nakuha niya, I will add mapping context. Tapos yung nasa header natin, itong si move input mapping context. Move input mapping context. Do I need anything else? No. So, wait lang. Ba't ka nag-error? Kailangan. Priority. 0. Yan. So this is what we see here. Next is paano to? So in order for us to add a action to our move input action here, we need to use ito naman, si setup input component. By the way, don't forget, super, begin play. Ito naman si player controller. A player controller. Setup input component. This is to call yung base class, ay yung base function. Parang siya ganito, but in this case, it's from a player controller because hindi gumagana dito si super. Setup input. Kung gumana to, then okay, we're gonna use that. Alam ko hindi. Alam ko dapat mag-error to eh. But anyway, sige. Okay lang yan. Next. Same thing is para siyang ganito. Itong setup player input. Ang makaiba is meron pa siyang kino-call dito. But if you notice sa player controller, wala siyang there's nothing inside here. Kasi meron dito get input component. No, sorry, not get input component. Input component. Input component. Yan. So dito si input component, we can add ano nga ba? Bind pala. Bind action. Bind action. So anong bind niya? Ibabind natin tong si move input action. Then, it's asking anong input event. So, ang input event niyan is ito. Easy trigger, started, ongoing, canceled, completed. In this case, we just need triggered. So, input action. Sorry. Yeah, input event pala. Input event. E is for enum. And you'll see here, press, release, repeat. Tama ba? Hold on. Bind action. Iba pala to. My bad. Axis. Ano ba may dito? Press released. Huh. Sige, press muna. For the class, it is this. For the input action handler, ito dapat yung ito. But in this case, it's asking for a delegate or yung function. So gawa tayo ng function void move const sorry. Lagay ako ng include input action value.h. So saan to galing? If you check yung template, meron din siya dito. Input action value. So this one, you don't have to memorize this part. We just have to go through this kasi everything else would be more smooth sailing than this. F input action value. You can always just copy this part. Okay? You don't have to be too stressed about this part. Kasi medyo madugo nga talaga to. Itong part na to. So to move, I will get my pawn. Get pawn. Add movement input. So f vector, let me just value.get. Ano nga ba to? What did they use here? F vector 2D. Get f vector 2D. So f vector 2D axis is equal to that. I am getting the value and then I change it to f vector 2D. So how do I know if f vector 2D dapat or float or bool? So that one is based on kung ano yung sinet natin sa movement input. Right now kasi vector 2D. Kapag float, then I should make it to float. Kapag vector, I should make it to vector. So this is f vector 2D. Then add movement input. It's in taking a f vector. So f vector. So in here, there are multiple ways to create an f vector. But you can do it as simply as just giving its xyz, which is axis.x, axis.y, and then 0. The float scale value, okay na yan. Automatic na yan. So, it is just this. Itong part na to. Except that parang nasa sili siyang function. So in here, I just have to call this function. And I can't just simply do this. I need to give its delegate, meaning ampersand run player controller and then move. So this one, it means I'm gonna call move from the run player character. May kulang pa ako dito. Wala na dapat ah. Let me just double check. Sabi ko nga ba eh. It's different. E trigger event. Ah, right. My bad. I forgot na kailangan pala i-change din na to enhance input. Ito kasi si input component is using just input component, but I forgot we are using the e enhanced input. So e enhanced input. Oops. U e enhanced input component input is equal to cast to u enhanced input component. Ano yung kakast natin? Si input component ni player controller. Kaya pala malitong ano, input event. So instead, input, and then it should now change to e trigger event. So e trigger event triggered. There we go. So madugo tong part na to, but you just have to go through this once, and everything else should be a bit smoother pa. So all we did was just add a mapping context and add a movement input. Pero ang daming steps. Like I have to use the U enhance input component. I have to get the U enhance input local player subsystem. So very tedious. It wasn't like this before, but because of the changed input component, wala. We just have to suffer. So let us compile this. Ngayon, may question ako. If after na-compile ko at ni-run ko, what do you think would happen? Would I be able to... I mean, sige, after I compiled it, after I create the controller for it, what did you use? Run player controller. Run player controller. I will call this BP run player controller. Okay, so if I use this na as the controller, if I run this, what do you guys think would happen? Would it be able to run agad? Anyone? Nope. Uh-huh. No? Okay. Bakit? The question is why? Tama naman. Tama naman. It won't work. There's a reason why. If anyone can guess. Implying na tama na tong lahat ng code na to. Medyo. So, it won't work kasi right now we are pointing our... This is a pointer. It's pointing to something. But the question is, what is it pointing to? We have never set it anywhere. And the reason why we didn't set it anywhere is because we're gonna set it right here. So, see move input action, it'll use ang ginawa natin. And see move input mapping context, see move context. Now that we have this set, when we run this, it should, cross fingers, still work. Yeah, now it's still working. So how do you guys, how do you know if I'm tricking you guys? Kung tinanggal ko to, and I run this. Ay, sorry, if I compile it muna, and then I run it, what's gonna happen is, since we never set the input, I should not be able to move. Come on, SSD. Yan. So, compiled. I am pressing the WSD. Just believe me, I am. And wala. Hindi siya gumagalaw. Alright? So again, this part, madugo. You don't have to uh, memorize it. Just like know what's happening here. So whatever this is, it is basically this part, but in code. And whatever this is, the paggawa ng setup input component, it is this. Okay, okay. Any questions? Wala? Okay. So if there's no questions, let's go create our moving pawn in C++. So instead of a character, let's just use pawn. So our pawn here, let's call it the floating pawn. Ayan. So it's just adding it. And you notice, ito naman, meron na siyang laman. Which is good. Unlike si controller, walang laman at all. Okay. So, our plan here is gagawa tayo ng sphere. That will be our pinaka-root. Then, gawa tayo ng spring arm na may camera. And then, kailangan natin lagyan ng movement. So, we get the floating pawn movement. And then, we can just use our controller pa rin. Siguro, pwede tayo mag-add ng look, up, down, left, right. So, we can try adding that. So, first, our components. What do we need again? Class, use static mesh component. This will be our sphere. Then our spring arm, spring arm component, spring arm. Next, our camera, camera component, camera. Finally, in order to move class, floating pawn movement. Floating movement. So how do I know about this again? You can always search it here or online. Floating pawn movement. And here it is. Okay. So next, we have to show it. So property, visible anywhere. Property, visible anywhere. Property. This is why medyo annoying si C++. But ganun talaga. So right now, natin, it's just visible anywhere. We can add a category if you want. Category is equal to floating pawn. Actually, well, di mo kailangan. Yes, wag na. Copy paste lang yan. What else? So we have movement, move, forward, backward, left, right. Bahala na si controller yon. Yeah, I think yun lang. Next, we have to create all of that. Our static mesh. No, it's for sphere. Sphere is equal to create default sub object. Static mesh component. I'll call it sphere. And this will be my root component. Set root component sphere. Okay, so sphere is now my root component. Siya na yung pinaka-root. Next will be my spring arm. Spring arm is equal to create default sub object spring arm component. Spring arm. So you'll notice again that the spring arm, I cannot access any of its functions kasi kailangan nyo include. And if you forgot what it is, spring arm component, it's in game framework. So game framework spring arm component. Now I have access to its functions. Set up attachment. I will attach it to my sphere. This is important. Important na you have to set up all the attachments correctly. If not, it is gonna mess up with your actor. With your pawn. For my camera naman, create default sub object camera component camera. And then again, hindi ko siya ma-access. I need to include it in camera / camera component. Ayan. Set up attachment to spring arm. Finally, movement is equal to create a default sub object floating pawn movement floating pawn movement. And where is that? I think it's in game framework pa rin, pero floating pawn movement. Yep, game framework. Include game framework floating pawn movement. This one, I don't necessarily have to attach it because it's a movement component. Di mo na kailangan i-attach anywhere. So that's it for our floating pawn. This one, I don't need naman. I can always just remove that here as well. Compile natin. I hope nakakasunod pa rin kayo. All we did here is just create our components. So this is all you need naman. You just need to name it in the create default sub object. Pangalan nyo lang. Wag nyo ipangalan na same. Like sphere, tapos sphere. Mag-error kayo somewhere in your code. And it's irritating to fix. So important. Try to remember, always change your names. Kasi hindi siya mag-error dito. If I do this, it will accept it. Pero sa Unreal mismo, mag-error siya. Ayan. So here's my floating pawn. Gawa tayo ng characters. Gawin natin dito. See. Floating pawn. Ito yung gawa natin. I will call it BP. Floating pawn. And you'll notice, nandito na lahat. So the camera is stuck to the sphere to its end. Camera is stuck to the spring arm sa dulo, and spring arm is connected to the sphere. So si sphere, I like the material sphere. Kasi yung gitna niya is yung gitna ng sphere. If you choose the other sphere, you will notice that naka-offset siya. Yung gitna ng sphere na to is down here. So again, material sphere. I can change the material to just base material. In here, actually you could add some values here. Spring arm, length, target arm length, and you can also do this para ito yung default, or see spring arm, offset, target offset, ayan, may mga ganun. Si target offset is F vector. So F vector 0 to 100. And then you'll notice that after I compile this, usually hindi siya magte-take into effect sa current natin na pawn. Right now, the offset is still at 0, 0. Well, sinet natin 300 yung arm length sa floating pawn. So there's no changes. Pero dapat may offset. So the reason why is since na build na natin to, usually it doesn't. For some reason, nandito na. Kanina wala yun. Pero the camera is still down here. What nga ba? Target. Sakit pala dapat. Target. Weird. Anyway, carry on. Let us use that floating pawn. That is our default pawn class. Play. And now here's our floating pawn. And you'll see wala pa yung looking left, right, up, down. In order to add that, nasa controller dapat natin. We need to add yung tamang move context. Actually, we need the move input na rin eh. Yeah. Actually, do we need to? Fine, whatever. Kailangan natin. Look. Input. Input action. Look. Input action. It is also 2D. And then the moving context. Move context. Lagay natin ng look. And then, instead of yung WASD, let us use the mouse X. Mouse X is left and right. I think kailangan naka-negate to. Tapos, kapag mouse Y, as is. Mouse, sorry, not negate pala. Not negate, swizzle. So, mouse X, mouse Y. Okay, I think tama siya. So, in here, we need to do input. Bind action. Kailangan pala natin tong U property. Edit anywhere. Class. U input action. Look input action. You can name this anything you want. You make it to look. It doesn't have to be the same name as the actual asset. Okay? You don't have to. So si look, tsaka si void look. Change ka natin to. Look, input, action. Balik natin. Look, const, input, action, value, value. Ito naman, it's still f vector to the axis is equal to value.get f vector to the, pero di na si get pawn. I think it is add, ano nga ba dito? Add role. Yeah, well, pwede. Add role input. This one kasi is a controller. Role, pitch, yo. Add pitch input. So si add pitch input, it takes in float value that is x dot y, yung y axis. And then add yo input axis dot x. So balik tayo dito. This is look input action trigger event I cannot type triggered this and then ampersand a run player controller look input look. Oh, one more. Oops. This one and then ampersand. Yan. So this is for the look. Let us compile. And then after compiling, make sure we add the input action sa player run character controller. BP run player controller. This is look. So if I play this, I'm pretty sure it's not gonna work. Ayan, I'm moving my mouse. The reason why it's not working kasi may option itong si pawn is to use pawn control rotation. Compile this, then it should work. Mali. So this is me moving my mouse up, my mouse down, my mouse left, my mouse right. So obviously may mali yung context natin. So this will be none. While our mouse Y, we swizzle. Ayan. You'll notice naman this is mouse up, mouse down, left, right. So ngayon, mali yung Y natin. So it's as easy as just negating it. And now, up and down should be correct. Right. So this works forward, backward, left, right. If I look to the left, my forward is to the left, my backwards to the right, my left is to the back, right is to the front. In this case, kailangan dapat si controller, yung add movement should be based on the forward and right vector. So, uh, you can simply just multiply this to get pawn, get, no, di pala. Sige, gawa tayo ng dalawa. This is add movement input. We'll get our forward, get forward, get actor forward vector. So that's where my pawn is looking. I multiply that to my axis dot y. And then for the right, we get pawn, get actor right vector. And multiply it to my axis dot x. Do you guys get this part? Hopefully gets nyo. Kasi kanina, it wasn't working because we only set to make it go forward, backward, left, right. Pero, feel ko dito gagana rin. Wait. I think this is not gonna work as well. Compile. I think pala it should be depend on my camera where it's looking at. Kasi itong add pitch. Okay. Yeah. Let's just test it out. This is, yeah, no. If we check, anong ginawa ni demo character? Look. Oh, gumana naman sa kanila. Do I just need to put this? I feel like that should have been correct na. Pero, check natin ulit. Ito, yung comma, if you check, ang scale, we're using scale value. Yan yung axis. Hindi rin. Okay paano na ginawa yun? Demo, look axis vector, controller yaw input. That's what we did naman. It's as simple, it's also the same as add pitch and yaw input. Pero the character itself is not looking. We are just moving its camera left and right. In that case, that's usually because there's a setting here that we have to do again. So hindi pala spring arm. We'll use the pawn controller rotation. Because kanina we were just moving the spring arm. Ito pala. Sa use pawn controller rotation. I think? Nope. It's somewhere here. We'll get there. We'll get there here. Controller. Pawn. Ayan. Pitch and yaw. We're using the controller rotation for the pawn. Now it should work. Yun. Pero I kinda messed up my X and Y. Feel ko dapat nandito yun. I think W. I guess they should be the ones yung swizzle. They should be swizzled and negate. So this one, I'm just messing up with the modifiers. Negate. Ayan. Forward. It is now going forward to wherever I'm looking. Backward. left, right. Yan. Alright? So that is just yung sa pawn. So all we did sa pawn was just add our components. Andito yun. Lahat ng components. Ang most of the work is andito na sa controller. Alright? Any questions? Or may gusto ba kayong mag-gets? Yeah. None? Okay. Siguro one thing about creating characters. So, gawa tayo ng isa pang control. Input action pala. This is click input action. So when I click, it is just a boolean. In our move context, we add the click input action. And all it does is the left click. There's no triggers naman to add. No, pwede naman. We can add a pressed down, pressed. So press lang. So in here, ang gawin natin, kapag pinress ni player yung left click, magsaspawn siya ng siguro a sphere na actor. So in here, lagay tayo ulit ng isa pa. U property, edit, anywhere. Class, U input action, click, input action. And then void click, const f input action value, ampersand value. Input. So f vector to the axis is equal to value dot get f vector bool. Sorry, bool. So if axis, input na lang. If input is true, meaning na-click niya, I will, ano nga ba to? Is it uworld? Uworld. No, get world. Spawn actor. So itong spawn actor, this is how you spawn it. What happens is we should put the class in here. In this case, it's a actor. Tapos, ang tanong is, ano yung class na yun? I mean, what are we spawning? So, lagay tayo rin ng isa dito. U property, edit anywhere. This instead of class, it is T sub class of, meaning subclass of something. So kung ginawa natin subclass of a actor, lahat ng a actors pwede mo piliin. Kapag T subclass of run player controller, lahat ng galing sa run player controller. So which is player controller, si controller, si di pala, pabliktad. Lahat ng under, let's say, kung si player controller, a player controller, kung a player controller, lahat ng galing sa a player controller. Like ito, si run player controller, si player controller, C, yun lang. But anyway, A actor. The name of this is spawn actor. And then yan yung spawn ko. Si spawn. Spawn na lang. Para lang mas malinis. Spawn. Then the question is, where will the spawn it? F get actor. No, sige. Ako ito yung part na to eh. Get actor location. Is the part where medyo nag-screw up lahat ng mga stuff. Ito yung class. Sige, F transform na lang. F transform. Transform. So F, it's a struct. So transform that set location. We get the actor location. No, ano to? Sorry. Get pawn. Get actor location. So, ayan. So this will work. Usually, it's asked for transform eh. I'm not sure kung gumagana to. Yeah, nag-error siya eh. Kasi it needs more than just that. So what I would usually do is just this. Or you can also do F transform. And then, meron dito matic na location. Pwede rin yun. Pero, this can work as well. So, pag-click, it'll spawn whatever sinet natin dun sa run player controller. Compile natin. Siguro, I just wanna spawn this one. This new blueprint. I think wala siyang laman. Right? Yeah, wala siyang laman. Wala siyang laman. Well, maybe we can disable its collision. No collision. There. So, we go back to our controller. We have our click input action. Yung gawa natin. And then, ano yung spawn natin? So, you'll see, lahat to is galing a actor. Because we said so. But we just need new blueprint. Ito yung spawn natin. So, play. Each time I left click, it is not spawning anything. Bakit? Spawn actor component on its location. Maybe the input. But to test it out, paano nga ba to? Oops, I forgot. G-Engine, sorry. G-Engine message. Add on-screen debug message. It can be any key. I'll just display it for 1 second. The color, maybe yellow. The message, hello. So I'm just debugging right now. Bakit hindi gumagana si click? But I think I remember I did not bind it. So it happens to the best of us. Click input action. Trigger event. Triggered this. And then a run player. Controller click. Double. There we go. So compile. Now it should be able to spawn. So that's how you spawn a actor or anything in code. So it is get world, spawn actor, and then kung ano yung class niyon. And then inside is the class that you're actually spawning, and then where it is, and then there are other ways naman. You can even add like spawn parameters. So pwede rin. So play, I'm left clicking. Yan. So now and you see may nag-yellow siya. And since it's using the same key, it will only spawn once. I mean the message will only show once. Okay? Any questions or clarifications that you guys want to ask? Wala? Gets nyo naman? I hope you guys get it. Kung hindi, you guys can always ask naman and by messaging me. Or message here sa group. Live. 2 seconds. Ayan, ito na yung projectile natin. Now naman sir, going to try that mouse input more. So yeah, you can always play around with the mouse input. Right now it's only spawning there because I did not set the rotation. So if you want the set rotation, transform, not set rotation, get spawn, get actor rotation. Huh. Huh. Weird. Anyway, compile. Sir, when po i-upload recording? Mamaya, i-upload ko. Para you guys can rewatch it. Any other questions? Wala? No concern? Hintay ko lang ito mag-compile eh. And now we can shoot anywhere we want. So this is all in C++. Kung gusto niyo maglagay ng ng gravity whatever, pwede pa. Pero if naglagay tayo ng gravity, it will collide with our pawn. Ay sige, pwede pa. Lagyan natin ng block all, lagyan natin ng physics, lagyan tanggalin natin yung collision natin so that it will properly spawn. Ayan. So the reason why I had to turn off mine, because if you remember, if you try to spawn something on top of another uh, collider that's blocking, it won't. Dapat. Oh no. So naghang. Ayan. So this one, access violation. The reason why it's access violation, because when we try to spawn it, nag error. I think we tried to access it. Hindi rin pala. 37. Ayun, you can try to check it out. 37. It is on run player controller. 37. That means nasira yung pawn natin. Huh? So, wala. But anyway, sige, that's it for today. If wala kayong questions, I will upload this again and you can always just freely message me kung, if you have more questions. Okay? So I hope you guys learned naman something with this part. Again, wag kayo masyadong umiyak dito. It is something that you only do once and never again. Afterwards, it's usually just all of this and adding more functions. Okay? So yeah, that's it for today. You guys can go and enjoy your evening. Alright, ingat kayo.
Thank you, sir.
Alright.